this is Glow Up with Froshay. Welcome back to my channel. And as you guys know, it is Vlogtober. My favorite season is fall. Autumn is beautiful. I love autumn. I love everything about autumn, especially fall in New York. I've expressed this so many times. It's so lovely out here. So I'm gonna give you a Vlogtober video, a Spooktober video, as I say, a paranormal experience video. So I had a couple of stories from last Vlogtober up here on my channel, and I did not give you guys know I have a bunch of them. I told you guys I have a lot of paranormal activity stories, and I'm going to give it to you another story today, which happened when I was a kid. So if you don't know, hey, I'm Rashay. A lot of my family members and I experience paranormal activity. We experience spooky things, creepy things over the years. Some people say we have a gift. You know, some people say, you know, it's a curse. I don't know what it is, but I know we experience certain things that normal people don't experience. That's all I know, and we don't know how to explain it. And there was a couple of times where we experienced it together. So it's not just one person, it's like a collective of us that experience these things over time, separately and together. So this is going to be a paranormal story for you guys. So yeah, if you like these, I know you guys said, a lot of you guys say make a series of these. And I might, because I have a ton of stories to share, and I feel like you guys like the paranormal experience stories, so I guess I'll share a lot with you guys. Let's get right into this video. So let's get right into this video, and I remember it like it was freaking yesterday, okay? So I must have been about 7 or 8 years old, and I remember well, after the fact, I think it was a lot of things going on in this house, and especially in the bathroom. So at night we used to hear things in the bathroom, and like our whole family, we used to hear things in that particular bathroom and stuff like that. And it was a really old bathroom where the pipes, you see the pipes, it was a really old house. Yeah, it was just really old. So I was about 7 or 8, and I remember my uncle was living with us at the time. He was young, and it was my grandmother and my grandfather I lived with at the time. I did not have did I have siblings? I think I had siblings, but one of my siblings was in Florida at that time. So I had like one sibling, I believe, or maybe one. I have so many, so I don't know. But I was not living with any at the time. So it was just me, my uncle, and my grandmother and my grandfather. So I remember it was the Muppets Christmas, around Christmas time. It was the Muppets Christmas, just came out. The movie just came out, and it was on TV, and I was so excited to see it. It was at nighttime. It was probably about 8 o'clock at night, so you know it already turned dark outside in the wintertime. My grandmother, she gave me some snacks and put me on the couch and put the TV on, and I watched the Muppets. And I remember like literally feeling emotional about the Muppets, because I remember Miss Piggy was stranded or something like that, and she was trying to call Kermit on the phone. I forgot what it was, but it was silly now looking back at it. I was like, oh my gosh, she's stranded. I was about to cry. But my grandmother and grandfather went in the room. They left me in the living room, and I was watching the Muppets. My uncle at that time, he went out. I think he was working, and he worked late, right? He worked really late. He'd probably come back like at maybe 11 o'clock at night sometimes. You know, he worked really late. He was not home at this time whatsoever. And I was watching the movie. It was very quiet. And all of a sudden, our hallway is like an arch. So it's made with like an arch, a huge arch. And all of a sudden I see my uncle. What now, looking back, it wasn't my uncle. But as a child, I thought it was my uncle. like he looked like my uncle. He was a black man, tall. He looked like my uncle, but now looking back, that wasn't my uncle. And I was telling my friend this the other day, like that wasn't my uncle. But I guess as a child, you know, you want to familiarize yourself so you don't get too scared. So I'm like, oh, it's, you know, my uncle come back. And he's like, he grabbed on the arch in the hallway like this. I remember he was grabbed on the two sides of the arch, and he was leaning in like this, staring at me. But when I look down, he's floating. So he has no legs. So he's literally floating, and he was kind of transparent. Now I'm getting goosebumps now. He was kind of transparent now that I look back on it. So it was a black man on, you know, in the hallway on the arch, looking at me like this, floating, almost transparent. In my head, I thought it was my uncle, and then I'm like, my uncle's not supposed to be floating. Remember, I'm a kid. I'm like, when I first seen him, I'm like, oh, it's my uncle, he's home. And then I'm looking down, and I'm like, he's not supposed to be floating. I screamed. I literally screamed. I was like, ah! I screamed. My grandmother came rushing out the room, like, what's wrong? What happened? What's going on? No, no, no. And I'm like, I seen, and I'm saying my uncle's name. I seen, he was right there. He was floating. And my grandmother was like, what? So I don't want to say his name, but I was literally pointing, and I was like, he's floating. Let's say my uncle's name is Thomas. I was like, I seen Thomas, he's floating. So now my grandma looks in his room to see if he's home. So maybe, you know, she thought I seen him. So she went to his room and seeing if he was home. He was not home. She was like, what are you talking about? He's not even here. She looks in the bathroom. He wasn't here. So he didn't come home whatsoever. I don't know who I've seen, but it was a man, a black man, sort of looking like my uncle. But I tried to put two and two together as a child to comfort myself so I won't get too scared that it was my uncle. It was not my uncle, guys. It was not my uncle looking back. I don't know who this man was. And it looked like now that I'm looking back at it, he was kind of older than my uncle, because my uncle was younger back then. And he was kind of older than my uncle, but he had like the same build. So he was kind of like built tall. You know, all the men on my side of the family was very tall. But I don't even know if he was tall, because he was floating on the damn arch. But he was definitely floating. He had no legs, and he was looking right at me. And I don't even know if it was like a mean stare or a curious stare. I don't know if he tried to scare me. I did not feel like he tried to scare me. I don't know if he tried to scare me. Like, I was a kid, so I really didn't like think he was trying. But I knew something was wrong when he was floating. Even though he was kind of transparent, I still knew something was wrong. When he was floating, I knew something's not right. And that's when I screamed. And my grandma came in there and investigated, and there was no evidence to be found of anybody there. So fast forwarding, we lived here for about 4 years. That's the only thing I've seen. But like I said, we've heard things in the bathroom. So my mom came to live with us for she came to live with us, and she was hearing things in the bathroom too. And it was only at night. It wasn't in the daytime. It was only at night. So she decided, and this is around the time, I guess, was Home Alone and things like that was out, when, you know, the tape recorders just came out and stuff like that. So she bought a tape recorder, and she put it in the bathroom to record at night. And I remember, I think I was like 9 at this time now. Now I was a little bit bigger. I remember they played it back the next morning. And the things we heard on that tape recorder was crazy. It was a man voice. And it did not sound like my uncle or my grandfather. It was a man voice talking to a female voice. And the female was, it was very, very faint. So it wasn't distinct. Like, you couldn't hear exactly what they were saying, but they were actually holding a conversation with each other. And then you've heard something like a chainsaw or something like that. I don't know if it was the pipes in the bathroom now looking back, but it was a loud noise, and the woman was screaming faint in the background. So it was definitely weird. And my mom probably can remember that part more than I can, because she's the one that did it, and I remember hearing that stuff when they played it back, but I don't remember much after that. Like, I just remember they was holding a conversation, and we heard the woman and man holding the conversation with each other. And it did not sound like anybody in our house. So the voices were nobody that we knew. So I don't know if that house was haunted, but let me tell you this, guys. And now that I'm doing my paranormal experiences stories, in figuring out why our family had all these paranormal experiences, these creepy experiences, my grandmother and my mom is antique dealers. So they used to go to thrift stores, go to, you know, they still do, go to garage sales and bring home used things. Some of these things were very, very, very valuable. You know, they know their stuff. Like, they know what's expensive, what they can get money off of, and things like that. They made so much money during those years. I witnessed it. Like, it was good stuff. But like, you don't know whose things you're taking back to the house and whose energy is on those things. Like, we just don't know whose energy is on those items. So I'm thinking now maybe that, you know, because they brought home used things and people clothing and people items and antiques and jewelry, it could have been some type of attachment that was along with these things. Maybe it wasn't the houses. Maybe it was, I don't know. But that's the thing I could put my mind to, because I say I would never bring home, now looking back, I can't bring home any used things in my, no, I can't do it. Because to me, witnessing that stuff, I remember this one painting that my mom bought, and it looked like a war. Like, it was just like, every time I walked past that painting, I was like 12, I think. It gives me bad vibes, and I'm a vibe person. Even though even I was a kid, I just knew something wasn't right. That painting, I remember it was, when she brought that in the house, everything went down after that. It was like just so much terrible things that happened after she brought that painting in the house. Like, so much terrible things. And I'm like, you know, it just was rolling over. Until I told her, I'm like, get rid of the painting. I was 12. So I didn't know, you know, nothing about energy or if something is attached to it. I just told her, you need to get rid of that painting as a kid. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, that painting is evil. Something is wrong with it. As a 12-year-old kid, she got rid of the painting and life turned around. Kid you not. Like, I remember there was so many unfortunate incidents that happened when that painting got in the house, and it looked like turmoil. The painting itself was like, I don't know if it was hell or whatever the painting was supposed to be. It didn't feel right. It didn't look right. It was just something weird. And it was very, very, very old too. So I don't know what she did with it. I believe she threw it out, but it was just, it was creepy. I'm still getting goosebumps thinking about it, but it was very, very, very creepy painting. And how would I supposed to know this? That's how I know I'm gifted, you know, energy wise, and I feel things. And I'm like, how would, you know, God gave me this gift. Thank you. But I knew something wasn't right with that painting. Like, no, this is not right. So stay tuned for more paranormal experiences, story times. I'm going to share a whole bunch with you this Vlogtober, especially if I'm vlogging and I don't have nothing to vlog about. So you guys are going to see these paranormal activities, okay? Thank you so much. Subscribe if you like this video, and don't